So what should we make of all of this? I'd like to welcome Zainab Chaudry. She's an outreach manager at the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
There are a lot of perceptions when it comes to Sharia law, and I want you to separate fact from fiction. Is there one basic set of laws under Sharia, or is it different in every place?
You know, Sharia is probably one of the most misunderstood aspects of the religion of Islam. Sharia itself means path to spring, or the path to a well of water. And really what it is it's guidelines, it's ethics and moral principles that people are supposed to apply in their daily lives to help connect them with God, to help them bring them more closer to God, and really attain like a higher level of spiritual connection with our Creator. And unfortunately, it's been so misinterpreted because of misreporting or what have you. Unfortunately, there's so many misconceptions about what the term itself actually means. What it really is that it's very equivalent, or essentially equivalent to, in the Judaic tradition, there's the halakha. It's similar to that in the sense that it's a way for people to attain a higher level of spirituality. And it's very different from fiqh, which is jurisprudence, or the actual application of those principles into the daily lives. There isn't any one interpretation. It can be interpreted very many different ways depending on the scholars and how they're viewing it.
And some people might think of some of the more extreme cases when they hear about it. You talk about misunderstanding. They may have heard or seen stories about stonings, rape, forced marriage. How real of a scenario is that under Sharia law, and where does this stuff happen?
So it's very important to differentiate between the principles of Sharia, the principles of fiqh, which is a jurisprudence or the application of Sharia, and culture and tradition. Stoning, there's different interpretations. It initially originates in the Bible, I believe, in Christianity. Even with forced marriage is absolutely not accepted in Islam. There cannot be compulsion in forcing any woman or any man to enter into a marriage against their will. Unfortunately, because of archaic traditions that have come down over the centuries, over the decades in different parts of the world, people use religion to justify these actions, but it's not Islamic.
You're an outreach manager at CAIR. You've been active for a long time now. Do you feel like Islam is still misunderstood in many countries like the United States?
Absolutely. I think we're making progress in terms of helping to change a lot of the misconceptions that are out there. But unfortunately, because of global events that have captured headlines that have really helped to shape the perception of Islam and Muslims in the West, specifically in the United States or Canada or in Europe, it's really helped to create a climate of mistrust and fear towards Islam and Muslims, which really leaves the onus upon American Muslims, specifically in the United States, to help dispel the record, or a lot of the stereotypes, and set the record straight on what the religion actually is.
I want to ask you about something else that garnered a lot of attention. A few weeks ago, the Pew Research Center released a report saying that Islam will become the world's majority religion by 2070, surpassing Christianity. From your perspective, how will that impact the world? And what do you think of that poll?
I'm sure there were quite a few people who were very upset and horrified at that news. I think it indicates that there's a lot of interest in Islam. A lot of people are researching, especially because Islam has been in the headlines so much with the advent of horrific groups like ISIS and Boko Haram, who have been committing these atrocities, and it's created a curiosity in some people to really understand like what kind of religion would condone these kind of actions. And they're realizing that these groups are not Islamic at all. And it's helping to encourage people to do their own research. And maybe I feel like maybe that's partly why there is more of a shift towards people who are embracing the religion. But I think that it's wonderful because it means that there's more diversity in the world. And anytime that there's more diversity, it enriches the global village. We really do live in a global village, especially with social media and the internet. We're all so connected in all parts of the world. And it's really something that we can leverage in a positive way to help spread understanding and tolerance and mutual respect of people of diverse faith traditions.
All right, we'll leave it there. Zainab Chaudry, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.